I think here we go, man. We are live. Yes, we are.
All right. Welcome, everybody. We are at the Patch
Brewery.
Patch
Brewing Company in Gordonsville, Virginia.
Our hometown, stomping grounds.
Yep, stomping grounds. Grew up here.
I'm Keith. This is Carrie.
Neely with
I
John
thought
Craig.
I was going to follow you, didn't I?
You never
John.
follows me.
Great to meet you, man.
You as well. No, thanks
And
for
John,
having
you're
me.
the owner.
I'm the co-owner and creator of Patch Brewing Company.
Okay.
Awesome. This is a great spot. Yeah, sorry.
That's good. Thank you for having us here
No,
today.
thanks for coming out.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your journey and how you ended up here at the Patch.
Yeah, so as I was just telling you, before all this, serendipity struck again. We've made a lot of choices and decisions, and had plenty of plans in my life, and somehow it all came right back to here.
Gordonsville.
From Gordonsville originally, Doctors Road and Mallory Ford, just down the street here.
Right.
Was a member of the Gordonsville Gators, the Gordonsville Little League,
Nice.
4 county players, the Cub Scouts, Grimes Memorial pre-kindergarten, and so then went to Louisa County Public Schools.
Very cool.
Had all these aspirations to go into architecture, and happened to have a really cool summer job at Shenandoah Crossings, just down the street here.
Right.
And went from activities to housekeeping to front desk to food and beverage. And so while I was searching for colleges, I visited JMU on a whim to see some friends and absolutely fell in love with the campus, and then said, all right, well, what can I do and go here? So I was able to find the Hospitality and Tourism Management program,
Oh, very
and my love of helping folks make or break their vacation. Really, you can make someone's whole year
Right.
in that field. And so I studied hospitality and tourism management, and I was in the College of Business. So I said, even if I don't want to do this forever, I can fall back on my bachelor's of business. Came back to this area post-graduation. I was an intern at the Keswick Hall and Golf Club, and got to meet tons of makers, from brewers to distillers, cider makers. We had a lot of themed dinners and wine pairings and beer pairings. And so I just got to meet a really great community of craft producers. And I was at Keswick for almost 7 years in total through the internship, and then coming back afterwards. And while I'd always assumed I would stay that route, I got burned out pretty quick. And so in my last 3 months there, after I'd given notice, I ran into an old friend, previous colleague, who was starting a beer tour company. And so I said, I happen to just be the beer guy here. I brought in all of these craft brewers, I know them. What's your beer tour going to be? And it was going to be behind the scenes luxury tours. And so I did 25 tours for him, and then just shooting the shop, talking shop. After a long day, I said, everybody keeps coming up to me. We need a bus and recreate this whole experience, but make it more affordable. And so after some talking, ended up coming with Seaville Hop on Tours, which was a public version of what I had just described. So we took you from place to place, and then we just had tremendous success with that. And during my time of building out Hop on Tours, I was spending a lot of time at 3 Notch Brewing Company.
Right.
And there's a great community there, and it kind of showed me what a craft brewery could be beyond just a place to go get a beer, but really a social gathering hall, a place to rub elbows with folks that are in similar but maybe different industries than you.
A place in the community to hang.
For sure. Yeah. And always had a love with that, and so we had said, one day we'll have a brewery. Serendipity struck again. COVID kind of shut us down with the tours. And so I was coming home a lot more. My wife is from this area originally as well, her family, and my family's from the Gordonsville side. And so we drove past this old VFW 100 times.
When it was for sale.
And it was sitting dilapidated. The grass was this tall. The field had a huge briar patch in it.
It had a baseball field.
The baseball field, it was a beautiful property. And every time I drove by, I said, that would be a great place for a brewery. That would be a great place for a brewery. And then when things started opening back up, there was actually a lot of funding available, and the price had dropped just to where we could afford it. So we bid off a 14-acre property and decided to go forward with turning it into a brewery.
So who was the first person you shared that thought with? Because we always talk about putting something out into the universe, and then once you put it out into the universe, it just keps growing from there.
For sure.
But
and
who was the first person you
told? My business partner, Andre Xavier,
okay.
he and I talked about it relentlessly. And unfortunately, I never asked my wife, is it okay if I buy a piece of property and spend the next 3 years of my life turning it into a craft brewery?
But she wasn't your wife then.
She was my wife then, but
okay.
she was still a significant part. And so, yeah, it was really, and it's funny you say who's the next person you told. The next 3 or 4 people in the 10 people that I told, one happened to be Clay High School, my general manager here, who was driving for us at Hop on Tours.
Right.
He had opened Woodridge Farm Brewery, James River Brewery in Scottsville, Draft Taproom on the downtown mall. He had done distribution through Virginia Eagle, and so
Knew the business.
he knew the business inside and out. And I said, "Hey, well, would you ever be a general manager again?" He said, "I would, but there's nothing out there that I would. There's no one that I would ever see myself working for again." I said, "Well, we actually just bought a property. We're going to do it. Do you want to, you know?" And so we got to talking with him more, and he became in that 3-way chat. And then maybe 4 days later, I was at Decipher Brewing in Charlottesville. Great bunch of guys there. Another one of those 3-notched, really communal tap rooms where you can see everybody in the industry. You feel good. And happened to run into Stephanie Phillip, my head brewer now's wife, and was telling her the great news that we bought a piece of property, we're going to be starting a brewery. And she grabbed me with the strength of 10 men and pulled me over to her husband, Eric, and said, "Tell him exactly what you just told me."
Oh, no kidding.
And I said, "Well, we're going to start a brewery." And he was the head cellarman for Devil's Backbone Brewing Company. Pretty prestigious job. He had, I think, 7 years with them and 3 years with 3 Notch before that. So he'd been brewing for almost a decade and had a ton of great experience. And I said, "Well, you're never going to leave that job." Little did I know that he actually lives just down the road here in Zion's Crossroads, and it was an hour and a half commute for him every day. And he said, "Well, I had no idea that there could be," and so he then became in that 4-way chat of us just, starting to talking about what we wanted, what was the vision going to be before anyone signed an employment contract or any promises. It really became the 4 of us, and we held that through opening day of details down from the tables to service models to the styles of beer, and we were amazingly lucky and serendipitous to have those great friends at Devil's Backbone, because they actually helped us do our contract brewing when we first started.
Oh, that's awesome. We
didn't have the capabilities here, because my dad and I renovated the old pavilion that we're in right now so that we could open, while Goodman B. Duke Construction was doing a major renovation to the building that hadn't had a foot in it in 10 years and hadn't been occupied in so long. So there was a ton of work to be done. So we were able to open out here with beers that Eric had literally brewed because he was just leaving Devil's Backbone. He would go over, and it was the same brew system that he was familiar with, and so we contract brewed, which means we use their empty tank space. If they have any hour period where we can go in and use it and check our stuff, we're able to open kind of before we.
So now you have everything on site here.
So now we're brewing everything on site and have been brewing since April of 2022. So we.
But you had your instant tribe kind of at the ready, not only business partners, but it sounds like.
And like I said, serendipity, it just kind of all fell into place. And even through some of the hurdles that we had with the supply chain issues, the guys at Devils were awesome to, keep that contract and really help us get a lift.
Yeah. So what can someone expect when they come out to visit? We've been here a few times, but if I'm in the neighborhood and want to stop by, tell us what you can expect or what we shouldn't miss out on.
Sure, we've tried to make a little bit for everyone.
Yeah, I can see that.
From the adult-only area on this side where the stages and fire pits are, where you can relax away from kids, to the other side over here, which is a full play area for for kids under 6 to across the huge football field, the ball field for kids to play in.
Do you ever get kickball or softball games going out there?
We've had softball practices and a few kickball games.
Nice.
Our hope is next year to try to do some charity kickball tournaments in order to push some
That'd be
stuff.
fun.
But
I've
it's
never
such
been
a
to
big
a
space,
brewery
yeah.
where you have a kickball opportunity.
Exactly.
That's
And our ABC license actually extends over the entire field. There's a
very
couple other
cool.
places that are adjacent to baseball fields, but I believe we're the only one in Virginia that you can actually carry your beer onto
So
the field.
bring your softball team down.
Yeah,
practice,
exactly, a little
Practice,
practice.
come have a little beer afterwards.
Or your kickball team.
And then other things that we offer, tons of seating, whether it be inside the pavilion here, the picnic table is outside, and then our huge indoor tap room. We have 150 seats,
Wow.
darts, inside an arcade.
You have a stage there too, right? You said
There's a stage, so yeah, during the winter, especially times like this when it's nice and chilly outside, we've moved all of our music indoors.
Do you have
for the
music
year.
every weekend or
Every Friday and Saturday night, and
Nice.
then alternating Sundays. There's a local trad band and a local bluegrass band that wanted a place to kind of jam and practice, and so we have them
that's very
alternating
cool.
Sundays.
And what time is your music?
Music during the winter hours is 5 to 8 p.m.
Okay.
on Fridays and Saturdays, and the summer when we have a little more daylight, it's 6 to 9 p.m.
Right, and you serve food here too. We were talking
We
about
do.
your friend who's an oyster. The
We
oyster
do.
guy.
We have guest food trucks and pop-ups as often as we can, especially during the busier summer months, and then specialty things like the Maine lobster,
Wow,
the cousin's
sorry
Maine
I missed
lobster that
that.
come through.
You have any
Today's show.
leftovers?
But-
Send them our way.
They had the longest line they've ever had at a brewery
Oh, wow.
on our site,
that's
so it
very
speaks
cool.
volumes of the seafood
yeah.
desert that we have out here.
Yeah.
But your regular grills, man.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
we have our own
Yeah.
county line food truck, so we're
That's
just
right.
we wanted to do something something simple and do it well. So we do gourmet smash burgers,
Yeah,
something
I've
to
had the smash
complement
burgers
beer,
before.
cheese curds, hot dogs, bratwursts. There's so many other great places in Gordonsville. Craig Hartman's Barbecue Exchange,
Right.
Yeah.
and all of his endeavors. Outside food is always welcome. We've kept it as a food truck out on the exterior of our building, on wheels, and it's movable so that dogs are allowed inside and anywhere on property.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
outside food is also allowed, so we are not
Oh,
a
wow,
restaurant.
okay.
So you
Oh,
can
wow.
bring in
That's
Fabio's
really
Pizza if you
amazing.
wanted, Tres Hermanos, Hispanic, China, all the great places on this little strip, but Barbecue Exchange,
Right,
Ice
right.
House,
Ice House,
feel free
yeah.
to bring any of those
Yeah,
to
'cause
go
we're
inside.
didn't
right
know
outside
that.
of Gordonsville, right? I mean, we are literally like a mile from Food Lion.
Not even,
Yeah,
a
half
quarter
a
mile.
mile.
So you
Yeah.
can bring a bag of potato chips.
You could, yeah. Or just enjoy one of our great smash burgers. They're pretty
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
They're so
They're-
addictive and good. I
Yeah,
try
you
to
have
only
smash
limit
burgers.
myself
Fantastic.
to a week, and that's hard enough.
Do you live in Gordonsville now?
So I don't. I've been commuting from Charlottesville.
Okay,
My
nice.
wife and I have a townhouse there. We've been heavily searching out in this area.
Let's give you a card here.
Oh yeah, we didn't realize that when we came, but yeah.
We'll talk later.
But I happen to have a huge project here, so unless we found the perfect
Right.
place, it's really hard to take on anything else right
Right.
now.
Let me ask you this, because I was son of Gordonsville too. I moved here as a kid, grew up here. Did you ever think you would come back to Gordonsville? Work in
Never in a
Gordonsville?
million years
Isn't that weird? I
had
know,
I
right?
read my script like I planned it. After I finished college, I was.
You wanted to get as far away as right?
I went straight to San Francisco.
Yeah. Oh,
I had a
wow.
postgraduate
Further than
internship
Stafford.
at the
What's that?
Bohemian Club, which is one of the wealthiest, most prestigious, secretive clubs in the country. Google it. The Bohemian,
What was it again?
The Bohemian Club.
The
It's
Bohemian,
crazy.
alright.
But I had a great internship, a postgraduate internship, and I found out about 3 weeks in that they filled the position that I was interning
Wow.
for right before I got there. So I had to do the whole internship knowing I didn't have a job at the end of it. But I was making decent money and I had a great experience. I learned a ton of management, serving styles. I had a team of 180 bussers and 260 servers that I was responsible for. So it really just catapulted
Wow.
my confidence and my experience. So when I finished up, I came back with my tail between my legs. But before I did, I went all down through Southern California, and on my road trip, I ran into some folks overlooking LA and Malibu, and I'm standing on this little pull-off area. It's so pretty, it's so beautiful. And they pulled up, and like, you're not from around here. I'm like, no, why? Like, we have California plates. I'm like, yeah, it's a rental. Like, we knew you weren't from around here. No one else stands out here and looks at this. I'm like, what are you talking about? You have this beautiful coast. You have these huge rocks. You have the ocean right here. They're like, it's a small cloud. Yeah.
Right.
They're just naysaying everything that I thought was pretty, and they thought I was crazy. And they said, well, where are you from? I said, a small town in Virginia. You probably never heard of it. And they said, Virginia? You have the Blue Ridge Mountains. And I was like, yeah, so? Like, oh, are they really blue? I'm like, well, it's like blue and teal. Depends on the time of day. And everything's green and lush. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's like green most of the year until fall. And they're like, then why do you like it here? And they point around and it's all desert and everything's dead and dried. And I was like, oh. And so when I came back, I just kind of, somebody had opened the lens. Opened the lens of what I had just seen my whole life to come back and go, oh wow, there actually is a mountain in Gordonsville. We actually we have some of the prettiest countryside I've ever seen, and I just had these blinders on until I was able to go out somewhere else and see it.
I was in the Navy, and the same thing. I hated Orange Gordonsville. And when I came back
as a kid,
I did. I loved it. But I drove from.
Tell them how you really feel.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. I drove from Gordonsville to Orange, that little stretch on 15.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if you're not spiritual, and you can get spiritual on that road. I mean, it's just beautiful.
231. 231 from Charlottesville to
it's spectacular.
To Gordonsville, and then from Gordonsville out through Somerset.
Right.
It's idyllic. You can't.
I agree.
If I had told somebody now having this new lens, I would have felt dumb because I just told them,
Cheers.
I don't live somewhere nice, and then to come back and go, oh my God, I live in paradise. What was I thinking?
Yeah, you just have to go away sometimes to appreciate, what you have. So.
And so what am I drinking today?
What are you?
So you have the smoked rye lager. You'll smoke your rye out, play on the great Christmas Story.
Oh, nice. So you'll shoot your eye out.
And you shoot your eye out. Naming beers is really tough, just to throw that out there.
That would be fun.
It is fun, but there's over 3,000 breweries in the United States now. And you can do some overlap if they're on the West Coast and they don't distribute, but you still don't want to take somebody else's thunder. They came up with it. But anything you could ever think of. Naming Patch was one of the also hardest things we've ever done.
How'd you come up with that?
So Serendipity Brewing is in there, taken, it's gone.
Because you use that word a lot.
Yeah, because everything just kind of fell into place. When you said, what was the experiences? All of them. I would not have seen the property if I hadn't been driving this way so often during the COVID tragedy of the lockdown, just staying with family. Just kept passing. I was like, man, that'd be a great spot. Man, that would be a great spot. But there was a large briar patch in the field. We wanted to do something with pick-your-own fruits. We have blackberries planted now. We'll probably have another year or two before they come to full fruition to where we can do a pick-your-own. And my parents' blackberries. And it's like something patch kept coming out. Like, oh, what about garden patch brewing? Oh, this or that. I'm like, well, what about just patch? And I'm not sure who it was in the group chat. Like, let's just make it that. I was like, well, it's got to be taken. Like everything else we've thought of has been taken. It's like, well, it's not. It's like, oh, then we can play off the VFW and memorial patches, to different beer labels eventually to do a patch for every beer name. And so we just kind of got excited about it. And before we cut down that big briar patch, it was just staring at us every day like, all right, it should be patched. I mean, it took up from the first base dugout all the way to second base. It was just a giant briar patch.
Great way to give a nod to the VFW.
Exactly.
I love that, how you give a nod to Gordonsville.
And then the other beer we have here is the Limpicki Light Lager, which is named after the old field here. Actually, was Limpicki Field. And Dick Thompson, who's one of the greatest people ever. He's an old member of the VFW here. He decided not to drive out to Mineral, where they combined the two posts. He's still here almost every day.
This is his post.
He's still on post.
They might have seen him.
They may have left him, but he didn't leave them.
Yeah, he's making tap handles for us now. Awesome. He's here all the time with his buddy Gene. They're just salt of the earth, great people. And so we asked him before, like, is Limp Picky one of the good commanders?
Right,
oh,
right,
he was the greatest.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I was like, okay, we can have confidence naming it after. Didn't want to get into an issue down the road. Like, oh yeah, oh man, things are named after
Such
people,
a
and then you find out.
figure.
Yeah.
Not Limp
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I'm enjoying. I'm drinking the Dark Harvest. This is our black IPA.
Nice.
We're actually using. We grow some Cascade hops here on site. Cascade's one of the only hops that really can handle the Virginia climate swings and humidity, but just a good bitterness agent. And so we actually use that in here. And Eric's telling everyone that he went out in the cover of darkness that night to pick them. So he wanted to call it a Dark Harvest, but it's also coming out right around Halloween. So we just kind of wanted to play into
That's
the
great.
Halloween feels.
And I'm drinking something late, and
That's
it's
the
really
nurse-
good.
that's
You're
the
I'm
nursing
nursing
something
it,
like-
unlike my friend.
Well, I mean,
But it's really good. It's
So-
smooth.
Yeah, so it's just a light lager, American light lager. It's 50% corn, 51%, 60. Eric will correct me in the comments later.
yeah, you can.
It's corn heavy, so that gives you a little bit of sweetness to it. And
But
so,
not too sweet.
yeah, it's comparable to a craft Coors Light, is what we like to tell folks. Because here in Gordonsville,
Yeah.
we are not an IPA factory because folks in this area don't particularly love IPAs.
Oh, I got some buddies.
I love them,
yeah.
and we have
I know.
three.
That's way better than Coors Light, by the way.
We have three. Thank you. We have 3 or 4 rotating here and there for IPAs, and we usually have 12 to 13 styles on, but we're always going to have a core 4 of lager. Our Pylon Pilsner is a great one.
Okay,
The Stone in the Woods is a nice, easy drinking brown ale.
What's a Marzen?
Meriton is it means brewed in March.
Okay.
It is a traditional Oktoberfest.
Okay.
And that one actually just kicked, and I put the sign back up so it'd be even. And then there's this guy right here, the Home Run Hefe, which is a German Hefeweizen, which actually won us a gold medal this year at the Virginia Craft Brewers. Yeah. And that was our first entry into that competition, and we took gold. So,
All right.
Wonderful.
Best Hefeweizen in Virginia, right
Yeah,
here in
cheers.
Gordonsville. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well,
Cheers.
I think we have to go.
I know. We can
I don't
stay
want. I
all
want to say
day.
something.
Fire
You're
still
cool.
got-
Man, you're cool. You're good people.
Yeah, it's
man.
good hanging
And I have to give a shout out to John's mom, one of my mentors growing up. She used to drive me to practice rehearsal. Rehearsal at 4 County Players.
Yeah.
She was my Ann Sullivan to me being Helen Keller. I didn't have a ride. She was
I remember you running around
a
the
great
playhouse when you
mentor
were
to
just
me.
like.
Yeah,
growing
I was
up. Yeah.
Claude and best Christmas pageant ever.
Yeah, so
I was Bob Cratchit.
yeah.
Huh?
No, you got the wrong one. Best Christmas
Yeah,
pageant
that's
ever.
right. No,
We did that one too.
I got cut from that one. That's
Yeah.
right.
Well, I
I took your
realized
spot.
I know you did. I was
As an
gonna be
8-year-old.
Claude. I was gonna be
As an
Claude.
8-year-old.
I was born to be Claude.
you still are Claude. And on that
That's a
note,
Herman, right?
yeah,
Okay.
that's a hurt. You got to show
Thanks,
me
John.
mixed up.
No.
Really, I'll keep
Thank
aside.
you,
Great
John.
talking with you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This is
Love
awesome.
being here at the
Thanks for
patch.
highlighting us.
Come down to Gordonsville. Come to see the Patch. Come see John. This place is awesome.
Karaoke,
great.
line dancing, dark nights, live music.
What are your hours? When are you open?
So right now we're closed Mondays and Tuesdays through the winter.
Okay.
And so you can expect us to be open Wednesday, Thursday from 3 to 9 p.m.
Awesome.
And then Friday, Saturday, 11 to 9, and then Sundays from 11 to 6.
We're supposed to wrap up, but you said line dancing. What
Line dancing.
tell me about that?
Karen's line dancing at Culpeper.
Okay.
She comes out, and so it's usually the third Thursday of the month. So you come
That's
out
fun.
third Thursday.
line
But if you go on
dancing.
our website, patchbrainco.com, there's a list of calendar of events at the bottom. Follow us on all of these social
great.
media
Will do, for
channels
sure.
to see it as well. But
Definitely.
And share this
will.
with your friends. Let them get the word out. This place is awesome.
All right, Carrie Neely
Next week, next
and
month,
Keith Neely.
Keith Neely, but next month,
That's cute.
we have a friend who is an anesthesiologist, and
Not
I have
an
volunteered to be
anesthetist-
put out.
A
No, what is she?
anesthetician.
Either way, I promised to do that. So next time we're going to do that. I don't know how to turn it on.